Hello everyone, welcome to News Mongolia on MNB World. It's Thursday, December 1st. I am Batsir Namshir. Our top stories for today. President U.Khurelsukh paid a courtesy call on the Emperor and Empress of Japan. Discounted nighttime electricity rates to take effect in 2023. Prime Minister L.Oyun-Erdene received Ambassador of the United States to Mongolia. For other news, stay tuned. The President of Mongolia, U.Khurelsukh, and First Lady L.Oyun-Erdene paid a courtesy call on His Majesty the Emperor of Japan Naruhito and Her Majesty the Empress Masako today at the Imperial Palace in Tokyo. Expressing satisfaction over his ongoing state visit to Japan in commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between the two countries, the President of Mongolia conveyed warm greetings of the people of Mongolia to His Majesty Emperor Naruhito and the people of Japan. President U.Khurelsukh expressed confidence that the strategic partnership, which rapidly consolidated in the Heisei era of Japan, will continue in the Reiwa era. He then voiced satisfaction over the fact that the two countries have upgraded the level of strategic partnership to a special strategic partnership for peace and prosperity, injecting impetus into the further expansion of mutually beneficial cooperation. During the meeting, Emperor Naruhito shared his fond memories of paying visit to Mongolia in 2007 and wished success for the Mongolian president's ongoing state visit. This year marks the 50th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Mongolia and Japan, and the year 2022 was declared as the year of friendship and exchange. More than 100 celebratory activities have been organized on the occasion of this anniversary celebration. Closing the celebratory events, the Modern Choral Ensemble of Mongolia performed a concert for Emperor Naruhito and Empress Masako at the headquarters of NHK Television of Japan. President U.Khurelsukh invited Emperor Naruhito and Empress Masako to visit Mongolia at their convenience. The Mongolian Energy Regulatory Commission reported that discounted nighttime electricity rates have not been applied and will be implemented starting in 2023. According to the ERC, 34.5 billion MNT is budgeted for the subsidy in 2023. As Mongolia's energy sector has been operating at a loss in recent years, the decision was made to increase central heating and electricity costs for businesses by 28%. However, this decision has not been fully implemented and is waiting for confirmation from the Ministry of Justice and Home Affairs.
According to ministry data, on this year's performance, the energy sector will operate with a loss of more than 200 billion Mongolian tugriks. Officials say that increasing rates will cut down on losses. The ministry was also looking at proposing 300 to 400 billion Mongolian tugriks in subsidies for next year's budget. Due to the inability of utility companies to pay social security insurance, the majority of heating and energy workers are unable to receive government services. Energy sector officials say they have exhausted all possible resources over the past 2 years. In October, the Minister of Energy stated that it's time for difficult decisions to be made. Decisions about discounts on nighttime electricity and increasing electricity tariffs for businesses await confirmation from the Minister of Justice and Home Affairs.
The Prime Minister of Mongolia, L.Oyun-Erdene, received the Ambassador of the United States to Mongolia, Richard Wangang. The Prime Minister noted that the government of Mongolia attaches great importance to boosting mutually beneficial cooperation with the U.S.
The Prime Minister congratulated the ambassador on his new appointment as the head of diplomatic mission to Mongolia. This year, the two countries are celebrating the 35th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations. The head of the government expressed his willingness to consolidate bilateral relations and cooperation within the strategic partnership and to boost trade and investment cooperation with the U.S. While emphasizing that the U.S. is proud to be Mongolia's important third neighbor, the ambassador voiced his commitment to further deepening the Mongolia-U.S. strategic partnership and enriching the economic cooperation with fresh content. The first U.S. diplomatic mission in Mongolia was established back in 1988.
Now let's take a look at the currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank. Nationwide in 2010, 5% of the population was diagnosed with diabetes. This number has been increased twofold this year. Experts warn that this is caused by wrong lifestyle. On average, more than 6,000 citizens die from a stroke, of which more than 50% are suffering from diabetes. Therefore, problems related to sugar or diabetes are of great concern among non-communicable diseases, which have been dramatically increasing among the population.
10 to 20 years ago, people over the age of 35 were diagnosed with this type of disease, but in the last 5 years, people as young as the age of 18 have been diagnosed with this type of disease.
I was bedridden for over a year without knowing I had diabetes. People do not know that they have this disease and necrosis. The death of the body tissue occurs in their body and yet it progresses to an abscess formation. And it usually hurts. I didn't know when I would get up.
As of this year, there are 34,000 people that have been diagnosed with diabetes in the country. As many as 60,000 to 70,000 people have not received any treatment and are in hiding. Experts say that, on average, more than 3,000 people are diagnosed with this type of disease annually. 1 in 4 adults is overweight or obese. But even more concerning, 1 out of 3 children is overweight. Because being overweight can cause diabetes, people who were likely to have this disease were most common in the age of group of 35 to 80 years, but in recent years, it has become more common in the younger age of group of 80 to 38 years.
There is no such thing as healthy excess weight. Now, obesity has become an independent disease. Basically, excessive weight is the main cause of diseases such as stroke, cancer, and diabetes. The risk of diabetes increases every 5 to 10 years. And if people are diagnosed early, they can control their disease. However, the patient needs to maintain a healthy lifestyle for 3 to 4 years.
People with diabetes have a 40% increased risk of complications if they smoke. There is also information that 50% of them have legs amputated due to chronic complications.
Chronic complications include eye problems, kidney problems, cardiovascular and neurological problems, and feet disease. Monitoring is very important when it comes to preventing these complications. The patient should pay attention to the food they eat, maintain healthy lifestyle, and see the doctor regularly.
Worldwide in 2010, 285 million people were diagnosed with this type of disease, but now in 2022, 547 million people will be diagnosed with this type of disease and receive treatment. Experts have warned that by 2040, there is a risk we could reach 700 million people suffering from diabetes. There is a sad statistic in that on average, 4 million people die worldwide from this type of disease every year.
You're watching News Mongolia on MNB World. Now let's take a look at international news from our partner agencies. The French coal plant in Saint-Devoux in eastern France is running once again. Russia's war in Ukraine has triggered an energy crisis in Europe. that's paved the way for coal's comeback in France and other countries alike.
Environmental groups warn this endangers climate goals and threatens health from increased pollution. In France, the return to coal is especially surprising because the country started phasing it out decades ago and relies heavily on nuclear power instead. But this year, on top of the Europe-wide gas crisis, France's nuclear reactors faced a series of maintenance and other technical problems that pushed the government back to coal. The government insists the move will be temporary. The French government issued a decree in September to allow France's last two coal plants to start up again, citing the exceptional and unforeseeable context of energy supply challenges. Cordemais in western France is the other site to become operational. The company that operates in Saint-Avold plant, Gazelle Energy, is working to transition the site to post-coal future with projects for biomass and hydrogen-based energy.
Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said on Wednesday he recently told U.S. President Joe Biden's administration to bring the prosecution of the WikiLeaks founder to a close.
I some time ago made my point that enough is enough. It is time for this matter to be brought to a conclusion. In that, I don't express any personal sympathy with some of the actions of Mr. Assange. I do say, though, that this issue has gone on for many years now, and when you look at the issue of Mr. Assange and compare that with the person responsible for leaking the information, Bradley Manning, now Chelsea Manning, she is now able to participate freely in US society. The government will continue to act in a diplomatic way. But can I assure the member for Kooyong that I have raised this personally with representatives of the United States government. My position is clear and has been made clear to the US administration that it is time that this matter be brought to a close. This is an Australian citizen. As I said, I don't have sympathy for Mr. Assange's actions on a whole range of matters. But having said that, you have to reach a point whereby what is the point of discontinuing this legal action, which could be caught up now for many years into the future. So I will continue to advocate, as I did recently in meetings that I have held.
Albanese's comments to Parliament appear to be an escalation of Australia's diplomatic pressure on the United States to drop spying charges against Australian citizen Julian Assange. The 51-year-old is resisting extradition from Britain. Albanese didn't say whether he had discussed Assange with Biden when the pair met in mid-November on the sidelines of summit in Cambodia, but said he had advocated for Assange recently in meetings. He made it clear in Parliament that his position is not an expression of personal sympathy for Assange.
I'd like to inform the House that also in the gallery.
Now let's take a look at our regular feature on sports. Argentina completed the turnaround from the shock opening World Cup loss to Saudi Arabia by qualifying for the last 16 in impressive style against Poland, who went through on goal difference, having finished level on points with Mexico.
Lionel Messi was the catalyst for the crucial win against Mexico that got Argentina's campaign back on track, and he was instrumental again, as they illustrated why they were regarded as one of the tournament favorites to set up a second-round match against Australia. Poland were set to progress by virtue of the FIFA fair play rule for having fewer yellow cards than Mexico, until Saudi Arabia pulled one back deep into stoppage time in their 2-1 loss to the CONCACAF side. That meant goal difference was decisive for the Poles, who will next face France. Argentina ran out comfortable winners with second-half goals from Brighton's Alexis McAllister and Manchester City striker Julian Alvarez, but the game still held real drama and jeopardy in the closing stages, as Poland knew another goal conceded or another goal for Mexico against the Saudis would send them out on goals scored. Argentina dominated throughout but had to wait until the second half to make the breakthrough, as Messi had a first-half penalty saved by Poland keeper Wojciech Szczesny after the pair collided in an aerial challenge, a harsh award after video assistant referee consultation. McAllister gave Argentina the lead they deserved when he swept away Nahuel Molina's cross a minute after the break, and Alvarez sealed victory after a fine finish into the top corner in the 67th minute. Argentina's improvement continued as they produced their best performance of the World Cup to outclass a disappointing Poland. The Argentines shook off the shock of that stunning loss to Saudi Arabia to settle their nerves with a Messi-inspired win against Mexico, then stepped to another level to confirm a last 16 game against Australia. Messi's first-half penalty miss was a minor interruption on their path to victory, as they held complete command of territory and possession against a passive Poland, especially given what was at stake. Argentina goalkeeper Emi Martinez did not have a moment of anxiety, and once McAllister put them ahead, the game was virtually over, Alvarez confirming it with a superb strike past the excellent Szczesny that hinted at his own rich potential. Messi showed flashes of his mercurial best, but this was a complete performance from Argentina, who played with greater intensity and fire than they have so far. They have taken their time to show why they are so highly regarded, but produced plenty of evidence here to illustrate just how dangerous they will be in the knockout stage.
Brazilian soccer great Pelé was hospitalized in Sao Paulo to regulate the medication in his fight against a colon tumor, his daughter said on Wednesday.
Kelly Nascimento added the 82-year-old is in no emergency or new dire prediction. Nascimento, who lives in the United States, also said in an Instagram post that her comments came to lots of alarm in the media today concerning my dad's health. ESPN in Brazil reported earlier that three-time World Cup champion was taken to hospital Albert Einstein due to the general swelling. Really and truly we appreciate the concern and love, Nascimento said. Pelé removed the tumor in September of 2021. The hospital said then it was identified during routine cardiovascular and laboratory exams, adding that Brazilian would have to begin chemotherapy. Edson Arantes de Nascimento, globally known as Pelé, has used his social media channels since to deny he was in poor health. Pelé won the 1958, 1962 and 1970 World Cups and remains Brazil's all-time leading scorer with 72 goals in 92 matches.
Now let's take a look at the weather forecast for the world's major cities. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for staying with us. We'll see you tomorrow with more news and updates. Goodbye.